You know, the most dangerous criminals are not the criminals who need to be surveillanced or special equipment or special powers to spy on their messages or decrypt things or anything like that. Most people now have got devices that can check up to what people are up to in capacities never imaginable 30 years ago, right? The most serious and dangerous criminals are the ones who are getting away with it in broad daylight in front of the nation. Charlatans, misleading people, lying to people, mainly in high-ranking places like public office, clerks, judges, ministers, people like Sir Brian Leveson, Tony Blair, right? These are the people who are most dangerous because they lead the public to believe that what they're doing is lawful or justified when it is criminal and in contempt, possibly treasonous, right? And, you know, there's campaign groups screaming this out from the rooftops, shouting it out. You know, we've got a gentleman who applied for the Police and Crime Commissioner for Gloucester, the contest, right? What the council and courts and police are doing to him in his legitimate process to enter a competition and pursue it in illegal proceedings, trying to obstruct and block him. That is an example of treacherous and diabolical, devious behaviour in order for these people to escape and evade liability. It's what the Crown Prosecution Service have been doing since 1985, since before they were formed, right? When they were put together and their organisation was commissioned, they scrapped straight away anything which could damage or harm their organisation, right? Which was the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, mainly because you could go into a court, get an order, and then you were protected. And if anyone arrested you illegally, then that was, you know, they were the criminal, right? Without that act and without that order, it's very, very difficult to prove now that you're protected, and the courts are really just ignoring everyone. And then the solicitors and barristers have been in on it as well. That's just one example. And that's since the 1980s, 1985. Tony Blair, since 2000, with this introduction of discounts. They wanted to make criminals confess, right? They wanted to get them to confess, persuade them to confess, encourage them to confess when they might not necessarily have been guilty, right? And they give them these offers, you know, we'll, you know, this is the sentence, we'll take all these reductions off, right? If you just say you're guilty, you know, and if the person was thinking that even though they might not have committed the offence, that it would be difficult to prove it, they would take those offers. So what it's actually doing is it's bargaining with the individual. It's not, the law is evidence gathered and obtained, and then, you know, basically you question people, you look at evidence to see whether someone did something, if you can prove it or not, and then you apply the legislation and law to what is legal or not, right? Justice is not a bargain. It's not a haggle market. You know, it isn't meant to be a haggle market. Justice is not meant to be served through bargains and negotiations. It's meant to be proved, and you have a defence, right? And if you are guilty and you confess, what's the point in having sentences if they're going to be reducing and changing them all the time? I mean, in fact, they've conjured up this system of discounts and so forth, where it might very well be that, you know, if there weren't much guidelines before, they could very well have scaled everything up and made things more serious, right? You know, like putting the prices up, you know, like on beer or alcohol or whatever, and then saying, I'll give you a discount. It's like a con artist or a scam merchant, right? You know, everything used to be, it's like Royal Mail now, you know, Royal Mail are absolutely ripping us off. David Cameron sold it off, and he said it was going to be competitive, but it's not. What, he sold it off, now they're for profit, and now no one can afford the prices, and now they're scrapping second class. What discount do you get on that? If they did give you a discount, it shouldn't have been that much in the first place. So these discounts are a con when there previously weren't any guidelines. So I think they put the prices up and then they're claiming they're giving discounts anyway. But juries could acquit people on their conscience anyway. This is the thing. So it is all a scam. The fact is, the judicial oath is that they shall do no favours. They've been doing favours since the year 2000 illegally. That's among many other things. They've also, since 2007 and 8, the election adverts have been illegal, in my opinion, and I don't think I'm wrong about that. The whole government's corrupt, and these particular things are so big and huge that it's massive. And these people are not going to confess it because, it's ridiculous. It's just so corrupt on a wide scale. And Leveson's a person who flies the flag for this. He's like, okay, guys, what can we do to get ourselves out of this trouble? Well, we need viruses, pandemics, lockdowns. We need to punish these people, get the UK flooded over with criminals, maybe get Mr. Putin to start firing some bombs at Ukraine, distractions. Oh, now we'll have to get scrap juries, right? Just when the defend our juries have been waking up people to the power of juries, what it should have been, but has been undermined, right? And then Leveson comes along, hey, I'm a retired judge. Oh, is he? Well, I'm doing an inquiry for the government. Okay, then fair enough, I'll submit something to that. Then, 12 months later, oh, here I am, I finished my inquiry now. By the way, if you actually check up on me, you'll find out that I'm not really retired. I'm working with the security services, giving them powers, more powers. We like more powers, facial recognition, surveillance, World Health Organization lockdowns, shutdowns. In fact, I'm the man. I'm the dealer. In fact, I'm taking away the citizens' powers, right? Taking away the powers of the citizens here, right, from the public against Magna Carta, and I'm giving powers here to the police and security services who are wanting to surveil you all, and we're conjuring up all these new crazy offences like, can't say what you want in your own house, or tell a joke, right? We've got lots of new crimes that we can surveillance you on, more power to us. We're inventing a new culture and civilization of authoritarianism. And, it'd be all right, but there is no magistrate that I have ever been in front of who has been my equal, who has even known the legislation properly to its full extent or even understand it, right? And has never regarded anyone as their equal. The right to be judged by our equals. They stole the right to be judged by our equal a long time ago from magistrates' courts, and we've been treated literally like dogs, like scum by these people. Stand up, sit down here, have a dog biscuit, right? It's scandalous, the corruption in the courts as well. And, Sam Guzzi is a stereotypical career criminal in the justice system. He gives out false times to people so they miss their hearings. He's like the Houdini. He's like the backhander man. He's like, he's the backhand. He's doing all these, passing papers around behind his back, between the police. All this, Mr. Slithe, Mr. Smythe, Mr. Slippery Slithe, right? And then when you call him on something, he runs upwards. He runs up the ladder, climbs upwards. Now he's on the advisory committee. He's not just a clerk anymore. Now he's a DJ in Manchester. Now he's a DJ in London.